morning, good morning, good morning. All right, welcome to Money Talk. Just want to come by and welcome you guys and definitely, get a lot of understanding. I know yesterday we didn't get a chance to cover our topic, but we're jumping right back at it. And today we're going to cover and talk about debt management, right? And the importance of managing debt and how to manage in debt. One of the things about debt is that debt is something that will destroy your life, right? Debt is like it is like a leech that you can't get off your skin unless you know the remedy how to, right? Because one thing about debt is that once you get in debt, it's so hard to get out of it, because it's like an addiction. Debt is literally an addiction. Spending is an addiction. Spending more than you make is an addiction. It's almost like we are so programmed to spend money that saving it and when we get it, it's weird for us to why we should keep it, right? So many of us look at money as a thing that should not be staying with us. So many people look at debt as a normal thing, and that's why it becomes a way of life. Like, think about it. How many of us acquire things on borrowed money, right? Did you know in the 90s, you know, it wasn't so accessible to borrow things on credit, right? It was like in the late 90s, coming in the early 2000s, where debt became like the phenomenal thing. Like credit card went through a big boom. And if you realize in the early 2000s, also, was a big boom in the early 2000s? Bankruptcy. That was also a big boom. So debt is becoming a way of life for many people. How many of us acquire debt to own our home? It's a debt. How about to acquire a new car? That's a debt. How about to go to school? That's a debt. How about to use our credit cards? That's another debt, right? Debt. Everywhere you turn around, debt. People spending more than they earn, and debt is like a disease. Because you know what debt means? Debt means you're spending more than what you have. If you're going in debt to acquire something, that means you can't afford it. I'm sorry, hands down, you can't afford it. If you have to be in debt to acquire something, that means you can't afford it, right? But there's a way in America that allow us to get what we want, even though we can't afford it. And then we pay back on what we borrow plus some interest. You see, guys, debt is a very tricky thing. And I heard a person say, a person who is debt to another almost becomes that person's slave. Because now you're a slave to debt, right? So we can't keep going into debt to acquire what people like to call as assets. And then if we don't finish paying down on those assets, it becomes a liability. So what I'm saying today is, how can you manage the debt then? If you are going to acquire the debt, if you are going to seek after the debt, what must you do? That's why we talk about, the financial foundation, right? How to put together proper protection and then managing your debt at the same time. So what you do is that if you're gonna try to pay down your debts, right? And you want to really manage your debt, please, please make sure you have a list of all your debts. Do you know the list of all your debts? What are all your debts? So many people walk around with debt, and I mean Oh my God. I'm talking about they have debt, and they didn't even know they have debt. They just say, "Oh man, I got so many things in the credit in the collections. I didn't even know I had this thing." They have debt from when they're a child. They have debt from when you know, this debt thing, man. You got to learn how to manage it. So you got to have a list of all your debts, right? Not just Credit Karma, but you got to also have your debts listed out too, right? Because you have to be a responsible citizen. You have to be a responsible human being. You got to make sure that you're in a position to be a debt-free person. Like, how many of you want to be debt-free, right? How many of us want to be debt-free? Is debt-free something that you feel as if that I want to be debt-free, right? Is that your goal, right? What's your goal? What's your goal when it comes to your debt? Is your goal to, hey, I want to have a lot of debt as I turn 65, right? Is that your goal? I will hope not. Or is your goal to become debt free within, 1 to 3 years? What's your goal? So you got to have goals, guys, because the goal is that debt is really, and I mean really and truly, not the way of life. It is not the way of life. And I do not, want you guys to think that debt is how you win the money game. That is not the way you win the money game. No. Eliminating debt, getting out of debt, not acquiring more debt is how you become wealthy. So here's the thing. Like I said, you got to get to a point or a place in your life where you make a list of all your debts. Okay? You got to make a list of all your debts. And once you make a list of all your debts, you got to learn how to take care of the smallest ones first. Right? You got to take care of the smallest ones first. So what do I mean by this? Well, let me break it down some more. In order for you to take care of the smallest debt first, you got to find out, well, what is the payment for each debt that you have? Right? That's the first thing first. You got to know how much is the monthly requirement of each debt. And then after that, you got to find out, well, what is also the balance on each debt? And then you got to find out, well, what is the interest upon each debt? Yeah? Now, cool. So how do you pay down the debt when you find out all these things? You start with the smallest one first. You know how many of us been trying to pay down debt? Many of us, and listen to me when I say this, many of us been trying to pay down debt by trying to take care of the big one first. OMG. I want you to stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to acquire the big debts first. You will not win the money game doing it that way. No, 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 you won't. As a matter of fact, that way is going to keep you in debt longer. You're going to pay more interest trying to pay that big debt than if you started with the small one first. So that's why I want to tell you guys that if you start paying debt with the small one first, and let's say that small debt was, say, let's say you had a small debt $500. And let's say that your second debt was $1,000. And the third debt was $1,500. Let's say for the small debt, the required minimum is, say, I don't know, $50. and the second debt of 1,000 is $100. And let's say the third debt is a monthly requirement of 150, right? Follow me so far. So for your $500 debt, $50 a month. For your $1,000 debt, $100 a month. And for your $1,500 debt, $150 a month. Okay? So now you got your minimum. Now how do you pay down your debt? Well, this is where we look into your budget and say, hey, based on everything that's going on in your life, can you put an extra $50 towards your debt? Can you put an extra $50 towards your debt? Because now you put that extra $50 towards your debt, you're going to apply it to the smaller one first. And now you're paying not $50 to the $500 debt. Now you're paying $100. So now you got rid of that first debt, right? You got rid of that first debt, let's say within 5 months, right? Because that's $500. So you are already paying down $100 on the $1,000 debt. So now you got left with a balance of $500, right? You got a $500 balance on the second debt. So how do you apply this? Now remember that $100 that you used to pay out the first debt? Now you're gonna apply that $100 to the second debt, right? And now you're applying $150 to the $500, right? So now when you apply the $150 to that $500, you now pay off that other $500 balance within 3 months and 3 days. You're debt free. Look at that, you're debt free. So now in a total of 8 months, okay, in 8 months, you would have already paid a balance on the $1,500 debt. You already paid $1,200 on that debt of the 150, right? So now you're left off with another, let's see, $300. You left off with another $300, but remember, you just paid down, that's what? You paid down that 100 plus another 100 now, and you're gonna apply to the 150, right? So now you're applying $350 to the $300 balance. 1 more month, you're done. So in total, you became debt-free in 9 months. In 9 months, just adding an extra $50 to your debt. You see, guys, that's how easy it is to become debt-free. Something as simple as an extra $50 and using a strategic way to pay down your debt. It's called your debt roll-up program, right? Pay down your debt, build up your credit. Can you imagine what your credit score looking like when you're paying down your debt in this manner, in this fashion? Man, you pay down debt, build up credit. How many of you guys want to pay down debt and build up credit? Who likes the sound of that? Pay down debt, build up credit, right? That's the type of stuff I want you to say. Say, I want to pay down my debt and build up my credit, right? Pay down debt, build up credit. Since credit is such an important thing to many people, pay down debt, build up credit. That's the new way. That's how we roll, right? Can you roll like that? Can you be that person? Can you be that guy, that lady, that man? Hey, I'm going to pay down debt and build up my credit. That's the talk, right? That's how the responsible person talk. I'm going to pay down my debt, build up my credit. I'm not going to consolidate my debt. I'm not going to bankrupt my debt and ruin my credit. No. That's what poor people do, or uneducated people do. And you're not that person anymore. You're not that person anymore. So this is why it's important to learn how to build your financial foundation properly. That's why I would say protection, debt management. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about creating that emergency fund. You see, guys, this is not a by step thing. No, that's not how it works. No, no, no. That's not how it works. Creating the financial foundation is something that you do simultaneously. It's something that you're always doing. You're doing all of them at the same time. Okay? You're putting together protection, you're managing your debt, you're creating an emergency fund, and you invest in. You're doing them all at the same time. But at least you're learning how to manage. You're learning how to manage the process. That's why I always said growth is good, but managed growth is better. You got to know how to manage the growth of your wealth. You got to know how to manage the growth of your financial foundation. You got to have a goal. Your goal is so important, right? And I know we're going to talk about the plan as we go on, but these things are so important because if we don't learn some of these fundamentals, how can we truly, and I mean truly, put ourselves in a winning position to be unstoppable? So if you think about it, do you want to be unstoppable? Do you want to have a strong financial foundation? Do you want to be debt free? Do you believe you can be debt free? Do you think you deserve to be debt free? That's the question now. Do you believe that you deserve to be debt free? Right? Because if you do deserve, you believe this, that you believe and you deserve to be debt free. Okay, great. Let's start doing it. Right? Let's start doing it. Let's start taking the necessary actions to do it. And let's stay consistent. Let's stay consistent, disciplined, and go after it. It's actually a fun game to play, right? I tell people becoming debt free is a fun game to play because there's a reward. It's called good credit. Okay? That's the reward. How many of us want the reward? Hit yes or no. How many of us want the reward good credit? So we could acquire more assets, right? How many of us want that reward? So if you want the reward of good credit, then let's start talking about paying down debt and putting together our financial foundation. It's something that we do simultaneously. It's not something that you do just one time. It's a constant way. That's why many people trust this responsibility with a financial advisor because they feel as if they don't know how to do it. Guys, it's not hard to learn. That's why our national campaign for financial literacy is here to empower you with this knowledge and this understanding so that way you could be in control. Don't you want to be in control? Don't you want to take control of your finances? Don't you want to take control of your life? Don't you want to take control of your future, your destiny? Let's stop giving people control of our lives. We got to be the decision makers. We got to be the person that change our lives. We know what's best for us. We love us better. You cannot allow someone to take away your control. Don't. It's time we take it back. Okay? So, I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope this helped you to get some better understanding because we got to put ourselves in a better winning position. All right? So, just as a quick little announcement, like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about how to create an emergency fund, right? How to create an emergency fund. And we're going to break that down in an easy way for you to get it. Just so you know, our four step to financial freedom every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So today at 10 a.m., 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time, we will be talking about how to help you to understand how to win the money game. We're going to break down the 4 steps to financial freedom. So you're more than welcome to come to each of these classes today. We always advise come to more than one, so that way you can get the information even more. Just so you know, update guys, we actually provide our workshops. We have free financial workshops now, and it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I just got news that we now provide them on the weekend as well, right? So now we have workshops on the weekend. That is awesome, right? That is super awesome. So just keep that in mind. So if you didn't know why we do what we do, it's because our mission is to educate 30 million families by the year 2030. Because financial education isn't an option. It's a necessity, guys. It is a necessity. And that's why World System Builder is committed to educating and empowering 30 million families by the year 2030. That's what this whole movement is about. So at the end of the day, Money Talk is here to empower people just in a quick 30 minutes, and share some valuable information. And if you want to continue learning, some of the things that we already done, check us out on Spotify. Check out Money Talk with Mr. Finance on Spotify. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out on SoundCloud, iTunes, our podcast. Follow us, right? So that way we can continue to empower the world, right? We want to continue empowering the world, and we want you to be a part of it, right? So let's empower and change the world together, so that way we could continue to start winning the money game. So, just a quick heads up. I'm also doing an upcoming event, October 18th to the 19th. Just go to extensionexpo.com for more information and get your ticket, because I will be sharing some really good, valuable information at this event. And I'd love for you to be there. All right, come through and support. But at this moment, I thank you. I always want to remind you that you're one decision away from changing your future for the better. But I always remember that the choice is always yours, right? And I hope you make the right one. So if you have any questions, comment or in the chat room or ask, and I'll be looking over them. So that way I could get you some answer today, right?